Hold up, I know what you're gonna say. Notorious, it's been more than a year since the Batman was released, and yes, you're absolutely right.
Not quite my tempo.
I just suck with my scheduling. Yeah, this video has been on the shelves for many months, been working on it for a bit, so here it is. So many Batman films, some shit.
You get the ice, I'll get the ice, man.
Some disappointing.
Peace has cost you your strength. Victory has defeated you.
And some gifts from gods. It's a never-ending line since Gunn is making a whole new Batman as well. Directed by Andy Muschietti. Despite my distaste for the trash, Matt Reeves still holds the last diamond in his universe. After DC robbed themselves for several years with many controversies and consistent dreadful decisions, Matt Reeves' Batman is still the last apple on the tree. Getting rid of the recency bias out of myself and switching on to watch the Batman from an entirely new perspective. Film is almost 3 hours long, but the film has enough to fully keep your eyes glued to the screen. And the chef kiss Greg Fraser visuals. In my last video, I bombarded the film with many great points in regards to its direction. So a year later, the film is, well, to put it in simpler terms, really fucking good. The film starts with the mayor who seems distressed with the progression of the election, and the Riddler, who's one of the many antagonists in this film, beats the living brains out of the mayor, leaving a message for the Batman. This isn't your typical threat like Joker hanging a fan from a building and sending a recording. This is a letter which contains a riddle.
Does this mean anything to you?
Fits the name. Riddler wants to unveil Gotham's corrupt powers, killing many in the most gruesome way possible, but all in the good name for Gotham. He torments Batman on what he might do next to harm the so-called innocent. But this shit is not the only thing that's crapping on Batman's world. The biggest drug bust seems to be a fraud, as Carmine Falcone played all his cards to gain full control of the underworld, and having many top-end officials in his pocket controlling Gotham within. This all leads to the end where Riddler is aware of who Batman is.
Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
And it plays around with him, giving hints of bringing the rat into the light, who was Carmine Falcone, who got shot from a camper named Riddler who was clearly playing Call of Duty. Riddler is about to flood Gotham after exposing the corrupt he built himself to target, in hopes to kill the newly elected mayor, but Batman laces him up and beats the absolute living shit out of every cosplayer on that building, giving him a new perspective on how he should approach things, using fear against those who prey on the fearful, and being a symbol to those who need hope.
Vengeance won't change the past. I have to become more. People need hope.
The film is very complex. I just tried my very best to sum it all up in a very short paragraph. 1. You have Riddler wreaking havoc to expose Gotham. 2. The conspiracies in regards to the Maroni drug bust. 3. The mysterious disappearance of Annika, which gets Catwoman all riled up. 4. The Waynes being corrupted-minded folks, making a deep cut in Bruce's perspective of his parents. A lot of narratives which can break the film's main vocal point sometimes. Many film directors nowadays strive for complexity, adding many dimensions to their story, most notably Christopher Nolan, but Reeves cleverly writes his film where certain aspects don't feel out of place, like how Transformers The Last Night were those billions of storylines which felt out of order, or had no correlation to the story, like Harry Tubman being friends with Transformers. Yeah, anyways, even some of the best Batman films fail to recognize a main part of Batman's character is he's the world's greatest detective. Now, this isn't a critique of previous Batman films, as their direction is completely different to what Reeves was doing here, which is okay, but a more disappointing feel to see how minimal presence Batman's detective skills are in those films. What I appreciate for the Batman, it's a detective noir film. You get to see how he unsolves the riddles and investigate into many troubling news, which resounds his judgment of many people in the city. Yeah, in The Dark Knight, the closest thing we got to Batman being a detective was finding fingerprints of the murders. Even in BVS, the closest thing to Batman being a detective was investigating who Wonder Woman is. But Batman during this entire film is showcasing how he's working himself to being the world's greatest detective, from solving riddles to undercover work, figuring out clues on the Maroni drug bust being a piece of work. Obviously, with many cases, the stress and anxiety weighs on Bruce. He looks and acts like shit, but keeps himself on the low as he's been out every night, making sure his city is in tight shape, while still keeping himself mentally out of shape.
I'm vengeance.
Alfred does take on the responsibility of being a parent towards Bruce Wayne, since his parents got shot down in an alley. He's in the shadow himself, understanding Bruce Wayne's mission, but at the price of hurting his family's good name indirectly. I mean, he isn't, but given the Batman is an anonymous vigilant, Bruce is battered by higher-ups for not helping Gotham with the amount of money he has.
Mine are yours.
Alfred doesn't really do much besides being the comfort here and there and deconstructing the misconception that Thomas was a terrible person.
To protect the family image, and he didn't have anyone killed. He was protecting your mother. He cared about her and you. He never thought Falcone would kill that man. But when Falcone told him what he'd done, your father was distraught. And that night, your father and your mother were killed. It was my job to protect them. Do you understand? I could see the fear in your eyes, but I didn't know how to help. I wasn't equipped to take care of you. You needed a father.
Inching Bruce to having his own arc of discontinuing his vengeance mentality and realizing Gotham shouldn't have fear but a new symbol for hope, or in the words of Bruce from Batman Begins.
As a man, I'm flesh and blood. I can be ignored, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol.
Reeves on purpose didn't showcase Bruce a whole lot. He made Bruce into a depressed, beat-up man who's tired every night, but has a job he must fulfill. He hasn't made multiple personalities yet to go outside in public, so many can start to pinpoint of him being the Cape Crusader. Much a workaholic for a good reason. Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz, was lucky to stumble upon Batman at the club, as he was attempting to beat the living bricks out of the Penguin.
Oh shit, it is. Look at that.
As if it weren't for Bruce, her journey would be in the path of self-corruption.
No. We'll get him. But not that way. Cross that line. You'll become just like him.
Her friend Annika's death created a tasteful vengeance to kill her father, Agent Simmons.
One man! Alone! Stop saying that! Betrayed by the country he loves. My goodness.
For abusing and murdering her mother, but Batman's mentality of no killing anyone, no matter how vile they might be, stops Catwoman of going down a path of being no better than a killer. Now that does not mean Batman defends criminals, but there is other means of justice without taking a life, and this progresses Catwoman's character at the end when her and Batman tag team on cosplayers. The two discuss different viewpoints. Catwoman believes Gotham is beyond repairable, and the two go separate ways, illustrating Batman hasn't given up on the city, while Catwoman dips from the shithole.
You know this place is never gonna change. With Carmine gone, it's only gonna get worse for you.
I have to try.
It's gonna kill you eventually, you know that.
And the infamous no-kill rule. Why I say it's infamous? Because ever since Nolan incorporated the rule in Batman Begins in live action,
I will go back to Gotham and I will fight men like this, but I will not become an executioner.
Zack Snyder created a Batman which isn't afraid of using machine gun to kill criminals. Now this is a very serious misconception. I'll probably make a video on why BVS Batman is misunderstood. Anyways, Reeves handled the no-kill rule the best out of any iteration. I mean, come on. He's so fucking dead. Body or no body, you're not surviving the tumbler coming at that speed at that level of force. Robert's Batman is much more careful when it comes to keeping that rule intact. While stopping his enemies, he avoids bullets hitting any of the cosplayers. Even in the Drive, which has become the biggest whataboutism in this whole no-kill rule discourse, he avoids causing many accidents trying to apprehend the Penguin. While the Penguin is the one causing the biggest clouds on the highway, he purposely is trying to create blockages to stop Batman from reaching him. So no, he did not, nor did he jeopardize his no-kill rule. This is probably the most stupidest argument when critiquing the Batman in terms of character writing. The villains, surprisingly, aren't the biggest highlight like the Nolan trilogy, but they're not bad. Riddler is a great villain. He pushes Batman to shitty situations and is a big obstacle. He even plays Batman by flooding the city, given he got all the crooks out of the shadows, those who reside in the police force plus within the government. He even tries to play Thomas Wayne as a douchebag crook alongside Falcone, which is immediately debunked by a broken Alfred, of being a false narrative. He's an internet troll, getting support for his so-called cause, painting a much bigger threat for Batman from being a simple criminal playing games to someone with an army growing. Agent Simmons.
One man!
is a piece of shit mob boss who has many under his wing like the Penguin. He controls Gotham brick by brick, and he has his eyes everywhere and knows every inch of the city that might have dirt on him, such as Aniko Sally got strangled for knowing too much. These are the two players in the Batman. They both give Batman a hard time and push Batman to a whole different perspective at the end. Movie was fucking great. 3 hours can't beat you up, but that's not the case as long as you have a compelling narrative keeping someone hooked and engaged. Is it perfect? No. I feel the film does rush interesting plot lines which can be easily dug into more, or with the most potential, such as Thomas Wayne's controversy. But that's just me. It's a unique idea that could have its own film. At the end of the day, the film is great. I love it. It's my favorite Batman film, but it does sometimes get tossed with The Dark Knight. But hey, DC at least isn't an entire shit show.
Holy God, what are you showing me? His head. Come on! Open your eyes!